I really enjoyed The Borrowed Christmas. This seems to have received quite mixed reviews, so it's not going to be for everybody. But personally, I had fun with it and actually found it to be quite sentimental and really moving at times as well. This was released in 2014. It's directed by Chip Rossetti, written by Chip Rossetti, Yvonne Ahern, and Norman Ahern. And this is a film about a man called John Dale, played by Jeff Rose, who goes into this rental shop. And it's basically a shop or a business that says that they will rent anything, which is a pretty interesting concept. And there he meets the store's owner, Anne, played by Sherry Morris, and he asks if he can rent Christmas or borrow Christmas. And basically, he's a very wealthy individual who has everything money can buy, but he doesn't have a family. And he wants to have a family Christmas. So he asks Anne if, money is no object. Can you create for me the perfect family Christmas with the tree and all of the trimmings, the wife and 5 children? And she decides, okay, let's try this. And the film is basically all about how that plays out. There are some decisions that I thought were quite interesting that maybe weren't the best, but in general, I think it was a really fun idea. I enjoyed the creative process and I had a lot of fun watching it, but I did get a little bit emotional at times as well because I think it's very easy to see that John is a very lonely individual and that, yes, he might have a lot of money, but he doesn't have the one thing that money can't buy, and that's happiness from a loving family. And it's a little bit, emotional that he had to go to all of this trouble just to have that on this one day of the year. And it hit me, it really did. And I think they got the balance of getting that message across that money can't buy happiness while still making it quite a fun and engaging and obviously very festive film. There are a lot of festivities in this, considering he's paying to rent or borrow a Christmas, and that all worked really well. Most of the film takes place in one room, the front room of the house, and I would have liked to have seen more of the house and his home and where his fake family were interacting with, but we didn't get to see too much of that. I assume it's a budget thing, but I will say what we do see is gorgeous. The design of the property is absolutely stunning. Personally, adored the checkered floor. And of course, the Christmas aspect, the decorations, the beautiful Christmas tree, everything there was really stunning. And I really, really rather enjoyed it. So, there are only a couple of things that I didn't like, but these are spoilers. One more of a spoiler than the other. But I don't have anything else to say about this film other than it's a lot of fun. A little bit sentimental and emotional at times. As long as you don't take it too seriously, then I think it's one that you might enjoy, and it's absolutely worth checking out. So, 2 spoiler things. And one is not so much of a spoiler, the other one kind of is. And the first thing that I didn't like is that, in fact, I guess they're both quite small spoilers, but nevertheless, I'll continue. The first is that when the children who are from the orphanage, from a children's home, which I thought was a really a lovely touch, a lovely thing to do. They were dressed up as like an old-fashioned Christmas. I wasn't expecting that. I just assumed it would be contemporary, but not only did they fashion this traditional family Christmas, but it was a traditional family Christmas from the early 1900s, which was not what I was expecting, but it worked rather well. And visually, I found the costumes to be great, and that all worked well. But at the same time, I don't know if I love that. On the one hand, I do like that, but at the same time, I think it would have been better if it was a little bit more contemporary and we could see what it would be like for him to interact with a very realistic family rather than one he could only achieve with time travel. But beyond that, I thought it worked quite well and it was interesting. So it's something I didn't like, but I also did. And I know that's contradictory, but the point there is that there are pros and cons to that part of the film. If you feel strongly either way, I'd love to know what you think, but I'm still kind of on the fence about it. The other thing that I didn't like, and this is I'm not on the fence about this one, it's when the characters started to act. We get to meet the characters as themselves before they fake this Christmas, and the acting there is absolutely fine. But when they kind of say action and they start pretending to be the fake family, they're acting as if they're acting. And I think that was intentional. I think that was an intentional way to show us, okay, now we're within the play, if that makes sense. We're within the play of this narrative. And I understand why they might have made that decision, but it meant it was a little awkward and uncomfortable to watch. And I don't think they needed to act like they were acting. As I said, there was an argument for why they did that, because it's very unnatural, particularly for the children from the orphanage who've got no experience with it. So as soon as they're told to act like they're this family, they're going to act as if they're acting. I hope this makes sense. So I understand it, but I didn't like it. But actually, as the film went on, and I guess as the characters got into their roles more and it began to feel more natural, it felt less like they were acting like they were acting. So it's not something that bothered me for too long, but it did feel a little wooden for a while. But that's not an insult to the acting. I think it's probably quite difficult to act as if you're acting, basically to intentionally act badly. And I think they did a good job with that. I think that's what they meant to do. But I didn't love it. But it's a small thing and didn't affect my overall enjoyment of it. I liked The Borrowed Christmas. Definitely seems like it's not going to be for everybody. But I'd say it's worth checking out. Personally, I had a lot of fun with it. And I'd honestly quite happily watch it again.